if you're thinking about, hey, do I have healthy friendships? Do they allow you to hold space? Do they get curious? Can you set a boundary without judgment, without condemnations?
But you're never going to be able to control others' behavior or reactions. So it's all about you having an awareness of if your decisions are healthy or unhealthy. And then you create the boundaries for healthy relationships and healthy groups. Does that make sense? Because I could see how somebody could interpret what you were saying as, okay, make sure you create these healthy environments or whatever.
No, it's like you can't create it, but you have to actually follow through with your boundary. And if they don't respect your boundary, then that kind of answers your question. Hello, Shannon.
Hi, Chico. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. It's a good day. Although right now in Dallas, Texas, there is a lot of pollen.
There's a lot of pollen everywhere, though. I just got back from South Carolina and there was a ton of pollen, and they were acting like, oh, do you know what it's like to be around a bunch of pollen? And I was like, yes, I do. So, for those of you in pollen rich geographical locations, yeah, let's ride it out.
And for those of you who have been listening and are consistent in listening to our podcast, and if you are, please like us on Spotify or the podcast app or YouTube. But if you are consistent, have y'all picked up on this theme that Shannon's on these trips? She just got back from another girl's trip. She just goes on a lot.
We're not going to do this. We're not. This is
I was just seeing if
this
people,
is not. Listen. So our job in this podcast is to encourage, first of all, women to do these things. We do have everyone around us needing something. And it's nice to just go somewhere where no one needs something from you.
Yes. But I was just making an observation of people that have been watching us. And if you have, maybe you've heard, oh, I just got back from,
okay. Never mind. Never mind.
Just seeing if that's the case.
You know what they call that? I'm going to be no filtered.
You're going to be no filtered.
Yeah. You know what they call that?
What do they call that?
Bad bullshit.
Oh, on my part?
Yes.
I was just thinking it was kind of funny there.
It's
Shannon.
not. See, that's the difference between you and I and humor, is that it's not funny. So anyone out there that thinks that I'm wrong and that's really funny, certainly, then you're allowed to that opinion, but it's not. It's not funny.
I was going to ask you before we get into our episode.
Yes.
It is Holy Week. Both you and I are believers.
It is when we're recording.
Yes.
When it comes out,
it's going to be after Easter.
He has risen when this comes out.
Yes. And today is Thursday before tomorrow being Good Friday. Yes. And I was wondering, did you watch the video that I did for our church?
Oh, I didn't, because I have had a packed day. And so the video came out on social media is where I would see it. I mean, then you have to click the link, but I didn't see it. So I will have to comment on that later.
Okay. And I was curious because I would love your feedback. And
yeah. So our pastor asked Chico to do a little daily devotional during Holy Week. There is a new person each day doing a little devotional. And so Chico's day, he recorded it a while back, but today was your day. So I will have to go listen to it. That kind of brings me to when you said tomorrow's Good Friday. A little bit of what we're going to talk about is that if people really, dig in and understand what Good Friday is, it's the day that Jesus was
crucified.
Crucified. Yes.
Yes.
And so that's the word I was looking for. Crucifixion, not execution, although it was an execution. It was the day he was crucified. And so people are like, wait, was that a Good Friday? Why do you call it a good? But anyway, it's good because he was fulfilling, God's covenant and promise to us. But we're going to talk a little bit about that word, good and bad, and how you call things good or bad or right or wrong a little bit, right? Today.
We are going to.
I want to talk about those words. And so that's kind of apropos that it's a little bit of an oxymoron to call it Good Friday, right?
You would think, yeah.
But they're not going to call it Bad Friday or, whatever. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. But what we're going to talk about today has been on my mind a lot lately as we go into the second third of life. We like to refer to life in thirds right now, right? The first third and then the second third and then the third third. And it doesn't necessarily correlate with ages because you could be 99 in the last third of your life. But I prefer to not be like, oh gosh, what am I doing with the second half of my life? Like it's like the road to the end. We're not on the road to the end, right?
No, not at all. And we're going to talk about some terms and stuff like that. And I like that you're talking about we're in the second third. Instead of, you hear a lot of people talk about the first half of life and the second half of life. We really like the concept of breaking life into thirds and stuff like that. And so this podcast can be, it's for all three thirds. It's for the first third, second third, and third third. And people can get something out of everything that we're saying. And so that's the thing that I like about what you and I are trying to do here is to really step in and give people some tools, and not just tools, something to think about, something to contemplate, something to step back and kind of wrestle with.
Well, it's things that we're already thinking about anyway. Everybody's thinking about it. You're thinking about relationships in every phase of life, every year of your life, every phase of your life, everything you're thinking about relationships. And I've been thinking a lot about friendships and like friendship groups and group dynamics and how that is fluid and it changes over the years. I mean, I'm not still in contact with my best little friend from second grade. It changes. Things change. You can still remember those friendships and relationships with great fondness. If you were to run into that person, if you don't see them on a regular basis for whatever reason, then there probably would be a great joy and gladness in that and some things to catch up on. But friendships look different and friend groups and all of that kind of stuff. What I first want to kind of talk about is that good and bad situation. I feel like you and I, as we do our work.
But can I jump in real quick? I like what you're saying, and I want to jump on this. But when we're talking, we're looking at you. If you're out there listening to us, when Shannon says good, bad, and we might get into right, wrong, what we're talking about is these concepts that most people don't pause. It just comes out naturally. It's this automatic way of communicating, and what we're trying to do is really communicate.
That's what I was going to talk about. But
okay,
yes.
Go for it.
So what I was going to say is that it's our automatic, default when explaining things, when we're talking about it, is like, usually we use the adjectives good, bad, right, or wrong. If I say things like, oh, yeah, she's a bad friend, or she's a good friend, or I don't think that's right. I don't think the way that is being handled is right. I think it's wrong. I don't think that I can, co-sign that behavior or whatever, which we can talk about.
That's a word you just,
okay.
Yeah.
So tell us what co-signing is.
Wait, but right here,
or do you want me to go on? I mean,
no, let's go on. We'll come back to co-sign, but when we're saying good, bad, right, wrong, it's like our whole society, our culture right now is about good, bad, right, wrong. There's different sides.
And in different phases of your life, it's like Oh, they're like, Travis was labeled in first grade a bad reader. A bad reader. He couldn't
By
read,
his teachers.
by his teacher. He's like, he's a really poor, he can't read. And then, Beck was labeled a good, like verbal
Communicator.
At a very young age. He was coming out with complete sentences and big words. And it was like, oh, he's so good verbally, Travis was a very good, gross motor skill person. He could climb trees and do whatever, but he was bad with fine motor skills and things like that. And that it was like, and it was all like, it's wrong to send your kids to public school. Like, we got a lot of that kind of opinion and all that kind of stuff, even though we did send our kids to public schools or whatever. But you get this right, wrong, good, bad. And that's how we default.
And everybody has an opinion. And it's like, and when we're dealing with people, when, you and I are coaching or I'm doing therapy with people, they come in with this mindset of good, bad, right, wrong.
Right. And so in every stage, when you are bouncing things off friends one-on-one, or if you're in a group and it's like, where does everybody want to go to dinner? It can be as simple as that. And it's like, if you make a suggestion and everybody's like, oh, that place is bad, then you're like, okay, well, I feel like an idiot and I guess we're not going to do that. And those words cause so much emotion behind them, and without even anybody, they're just stating their opinion, or, it's maybe factual. I don't know, but you see what I'm saying? Like,
yeah. And sometimes,
so it's hard
Shannon,
to
where
argue with that.
yeah, sometimes, and it's stating opinion, but what we're talking about more is relationships and interacting with people and stuff like that. Sometimes the restaurants are just bad.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. But when you're constantly like comparing, like, it doesn't feel good when someone says your suggestion is bad, no matter what it is. Even if it is a bad restaurant, like, that's not personal. And, but we can take that stuff personally because you're in a relationship.
And so, but let's
so
break down this good, bad, right, wrong. When spending time with people, and
let's circle back to that real quick, because I want to talk about, I'm going to go ahead and give the example that I had on this latest girls trip that I was on, since I seem to travel all the time or whatever. According to Chico. So not true. But I went on a trip with a group of my college friends. They are all from different places. So the bonus about that is that you don't have drama from home taken with you. Does that make sense to a man? I don't know if that makes sense to a woman, I'm sure, but to a man, it's like, you just don't have this awkward drama, if there is any drama or whatever, from home, trying to dance around it or anything like that on a group trip, because everybody's from different places. And so none of the kids went to school together, none of the, all the things. So it's just real.
For men, real quick, yes, I totally get the picture of the drama with women.
Well, for men, it can look like a golf course like battle that maybe.
And what I was gonna say, it's more about competition. It's like, this kind of flexing. When your kids are growing up and you have a kid that's really good athlete, it's like the other dads are jealous, and there's just this kind of tension that occurs and stuff. Well,
that can't be. I'm speaking more though. Take the kids out of it. It's more on the golf course if they're like, Chico's a sandbagger, or something like that. Drama like that, and then if you go on a golf trip with your golf buddies here in town, they're going to take that with them to the golf trip. Whereas if you go with all your buddies from all over the country, they're not taking the drama. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes total sense. And so I do like that you're going down this trail about your trip. I really want to make sure that we get back into this good, bad, right, wrong.
We're going to. Because, and you'll see how I bring it back in, because I simply, after spending a couple of days with these women, again, that I haven't seen in a long time, we were all making the comments of how really we knew each other for 4 years. And why was it so different? Because it was just easier than other friend groups. It was easier than other relationships, like we had grown up together, or like we were siblings or sisters, which we kind of are sisters in sorority, but like we had grown up together. But there's complications within family relationships too. Okay. So, and whatever. But we were just talking about how it's so easy, and I said, well, I think one of the differences is we saw each other pretty much every day. In college, you see people every day. You're either living in a big dorm or the sorority house, if you're into that, or whatever, or going to class, but you see everybody kind of on a daily basis. So the time is more condensed or something. But I told you one morning when we were catching up, you
But you're
said,
still on this trip.
yeah, you said, how's it going? And I said, oh my gosh, it's so great. I go, I haven't been around this healthy of a group of women in so long. And that's what I said. And
Yes.
you know what that means.
Yes.
So you were like, oh, it's so great. Yeah, I totally understand. No explanation needed. I just said it's
it
the
just
healthiest.
went boom. I knew exactly what you meant.
That's the adjective I used, the healthiest group of women that I've been around in a long time. It's so refreshing. It's so nice. Then we went to lunch. Well, we were walking on the beach before lunch. I said, I just love this trip. I just told Chico this morning that this was the healthiest group of women I've been around in a long time. And they all kind of like stopped. It was like record scratching. And they were like
stopped their walk, physically stopped.
Yeah,
Yes,
they kind
and
of
just kind of
stopped. It was
paused
real
and looked.
windy. It was real windy, and so we couldn't hear each other very well. And they just kind of stopped, and they were like, "Wait, tell us more about that." And I was like, "Let's wait till lunch when we can really talk."
So it was a physical, like the
Yeah,
brakes
it was
came on.
like, "What do you mean healthiest?" Like they initially thought I meant like physically fitness or whatever, and so they were like, "Yeah, because we're walking on the beach. We're not going straight to lunch and or whatever." And I was like, "No, no, no, not physically." And they were like, "Well, okay, tell us more about that." And I was like, "Let's wait till lunch." So where everybody can hear me. So we went to lunch, and I just kind of broke it down for them using the good and bad and right and wrong. So now you can come in and
Yes.
break that down a little bit.
And so, you and I really haven't. You just told me about your conversation, and you told me that,
Right.
hey,
But now you
these
can bring it
women,
in. I
yeah.
mean,
And so it's
yeah.
like when we talk about good, bad, right, and wrong, it's like really creating this place that makes division occur, and it doesn't create a place that's safe. It doesn't create this place of holding space. It doesn't create this place of if someone's struggling or sharing, that all of a sudden you don't feel safe to be seen and heard. That you can bring in, when you're saying healthiest people, it isn't about good, bad, right, or wrong, because some people have, it's the human condition. We all have struggles. But what it is about is what you and I talk about a lot is, hey, is that healthy or unhealthy? And there's people that you get around that might be unhealthy for you. It doesn't mean that they're not healthy and stuff like that.
Actually, I see what you're saying and I agree with it, but actually it can mean they're unhealthy, but not in the ways that they might be thinking or the world might be thinking. It's more of they might be struggling with codependency and people pleasing. Or let's not even use the word codependency because I hate that, but
Over functioning.
or people pleasing. Okay, so you said they may or may not be healthy. They may or may not be right or wrong or good or bad, but it might be unhealthy.
It might be unhealthy, but the deal is what I was really trying to emphasize, and I didn't, and it what I was really trying to emphasize and make a point about is there's people in your life that might not be healthy for you. We're not even about judging them. That's what I was getting at. It's not about judging them. Now, some people you can go, hey, that's pretty unhealthy behavior. And it's not about good, bad, right, or wrong. Oh, they're bad or they're not right or, they're wrong. No, it's just those things. We equate and we put people in these boxes. And so when you talk about healthy people, it's like, no, these people can hold space for you and they're healthy for you. And you have this interaction and you can connect and you can hold space for them and they can hold space for you. And so
Right.
it's like
It kind of
they're
takes the
not.
judgment out of it, actually. So I get what you're saying. Okay, we're saying the same thing, but yeah, it kind of takes the judgment out of it. If I'm thinking that's really not healthy for me, let's say, whatever. I don't even want to talk about unhealthy for me would be maybe a heavy drinker, maybe somebody that still likes to really party down. Well, that's their choice. I have no judgment on that. I can't do that anymore because I feel like crap. I can't sleep. I can't, all the things or whatever. Can't do that anymore. And so it's unhealthy for me. But that's not a judgment, but it changes a group dynamic, which was going to lead me to.
Well,
So
let me
as,
give you
okay, go
let me
ahead.
give an example. It's like the cool thing is I was involved in it for a while, but you're really still involved in it. It's called Links Players. It's a Bible study that uses golf analogies, and it's specifically a ministry to go to country clubs and have some Bible studies and really uh,
Golf clubs. Yeah.
golf clubs and really do it in like the 19th hole and with women and stuff like that. And lots of times when you think about the 19th hole, the bar after you play golf, that's why they call it the 19th hole. There's a lot of camaraderie, but there's a lot of times a lot of drinking, a lot of kind of one upping. Yes,
Gossiping, a lot
yeah,
of, really ribbing and making fun of poking fun of people, and that's not healthy.
that's not healthy at all. And so these two Bible studies that started in the men's 19th hole, that our buddy Drew started, it's like all of a sudden the dynamics in the 19th hole started to shift. It was pretty unhealthy, toxic, lots of, and I'm not here to judge. I don't drink, but it was not a real
Well,
uplifting place.
people right, and it's become more positive, more uplifting, more healthy. So, people can still be in there having cocktails and drinks and talking about their round of golf and doing all that stuff,
And
but it's a
ribbing on each
whole
other, but it's
yeah,
not
it's a
it's
whole
not that.
shift of healthy it's a healthy shift in thought, mentality,
And we're not getting into right there this.
dynamics.
We're not putting people in a box. We really, when we talk about relationships, when we talk about interaction with people, we talk about, hey, is that healthy or unhealthy? We don't talk about good. When we put people in this good or bad, right or wrong, it labels them, it sticks them there. And so when you're talking about, man, this is the healthiest group of women I've been around in a long time, what I was thinking, oh, they're safe to be around. I can share and not feel this competition. Not get you.
Well,
You
and
didn't get
women
stood on.
yes. Well, women specifically, I feel like there are groups of women that the second you're not in the group
They're
or
talking about you.
they're talking about you.
I knew it. I finished your thought.
Yes, I know. And so that is and they're talking about they're not using the language like, Shannon did this and blah blah blah. That's really not healthy. They're not no one naturally uses that language. Obviously, my friends looked at me like I had three heads because they were like, "Tell us more about that. Like what are you talking about?" But in a
And so when
non-judgmental,
it,
sweet way, they really wanted to know and then they were like,
and so but let's pause for a second. It's
"Okay."
like right
And I
there. It's
wanna
like
talk
if
about what I
you're
told
yeah,
him a little bit, but
if you're sitting here listening to this, go back when right before when we talked about this concept when Shannon said, "Oh, this is the healthiest group of women." I believe you're like her friends on the beach that she was referring to. we're thinking, oh, physically healthy, eating healthy, stuff like that. No, when you and I use this term, we're talking about emotional health. We're talking about relationship health. We're talking about spiritual health. We're
Right.
not,
Right.
if physical health might be a part of that, but that's really
Yeah.
not what we're talking about.
Well, I think the body keeps the score. And when you change your mindset into thinking about things in healthy or unhealthy for you, not anybody else. This isn't about judgment. This isn't about labels. It's but about you. When you can change your mindset to think about, if is what I'm doing healthy for me or unhealthy for me, the body keeps the score. You're physically, that's going to fall into line anyway if you have that mindset. So, but this led me to, we really discussed it because they said, well, give us some examples of unhealthy groups that you've been in. Like, why did you call us healthy? And that's a fair question. And I get it. So, the way I can sum it up is I don't really want to talk about some specifics of unhealthy situations because
I'm fearful
they
I
could,
might out.
yes, yes. So I'm not going to talk about that, but I am going to refer to a podcast I heard. It was a Mel Robbins podcast. I can't remember if she had a guest or not. It was probably 8 years ago or so. Dig way back into the Mel Robbins, like when she first started, and no one was really listening to her anyway. But I was, because we were doing our podcast. And she did a podcast on adult friendships and broke it down into 3 categories. You have friends for a reason, a season, and a lifetime, I think is the word she
Yes,
used.
she did.
Well, or maybe she called them 3 a.m. friends and whatever. And before I listened to it, I thought 3 a.m. friends would be like you, like the emergency, or my mom, like the emergency contact. But really, so she broke it down. I've obviously friends for a reason, and I'll give an example of that. And then friends for a season. That's pretty obvious. Like when my boys were in high school and played football, I was friends with the football moms. That was a season, literally football season. But, and then there are the 3 a.m. friends. Now, that's not if you wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning and it's not a crisis, you just wake up at 3 a.m. If you could think of just one person that if you really needed some help, like I'm really struggling or whatever, that you could call, that's your lifetime or your 3 a.m. friend. And I could, with my oldest friend, well, one of my oldest friends that I train with now, and if she ever listens to this, she probably won't. She'll know who she is, but she's just my oldest friend by age because I met her. I was so little, and then we remained friends until today. But she hardly talks on the phone anyway, but she would be a 3 a.m. She would be there if I really needed her. Does that make sense?
At 3 a.m. for sure.
Yeah. So those are the kind of friends, and you don't have many of those. Even Mel was talking about that on the podcast. It's like, if you just have one, that's great. I do think I have a few, and that's awesome. I'm lucky. I'm lucky. And then I've had friends for a season, and I will continue to have friends for a season. And then the reason once it hit me is when we went to Hawaii with your core best BFF.
Those are my
best,
3 a.m. friends.
Yes, your 3 a.m. friends. We went with them and their wives, who I didn't really know. I mean, we could talk about the minutia of how I knew each one of them and how well I knew each one, whatever.
But it was
The
minimal.
hostess, I didn't know.
You never met her.
Never met her. And we were staying at her house in Hawaii. So we all go, and you guys take off and play golf because that's what you do. And I woke up and I could hear everybody in the kitchen having coffee. And to myself, I was like, okay, I got to go get a cup of coffee and I don't really drink coffee in the morning. So, but I was going to go do it because that's what everybody else was doing. And so we sat down, and these are healthy women, okay? Because they're married to seemingly healthy guys. But let me just preface it by saying these are healthy women. So we sat down, we start talking, and then I said something like, "Is this awkward for any of y'all?" And they're like, "What do you mean?" And I said, "I mean, we don't really know each other, and I go, I'm sitting here drinking coffee, and I don't drink coffee in the morning." And they all just busted out laughing. And they were like, "Why are you drinking it?" And I go, "Because everybody's drinking coffee. That's what you do. You get up on vacation and you have coffee." And they were like, "Oh, that's so funny." It just broke the ice. And then I told them about the podcast. I said, "I listened to this podcast," and I go, "And you all are my friends for a reason. And the reason is because our husbands are so close." And I said, "But this takes away the need to have a group text or a group chat, like when we leave, because so many women fall into that, like, ooh, we better keep up, or I look like a bad friend or a bad person. And I don't want to do the wrong thing by not being thankful enough to the hostess. And I want to check in with these people because I don't want to appear, you know, like I don't like them or whatever. You usually end up with some group text or trying to connect, and you don't have to. You don't need to. It's healthy to just say, "I am so grateful for you all. You're my friends for a reason." And you can keep it that way. You can check in on them. You can look forward to the next time that y'all want to be together, but it just doesn't have to be an unhealthy situation.
No. And so we were talking about this a couple nights ago. There's a young girl that's our son's age that's in the field that I'm in, and you're kind of spending time with her and mentoring her, and we took her to dinner, and
She's really more in my field
yes,
because she's business development. That's what I
yes.
was.
But she's in the field of addiction and recovery and stuff like that.
Yes.
And you were just kind of helping her out. But she has those friends for a reason, are people in the field. And she was just talking about, just the struggle of that. And she was given some good highlights of just this competition and not feeling safe and being in this space where she didn't know who to trust and stuff like that. Those are unhealthy relationships, and yet everybody was pretending. Everybody was pretending like they're good friends. Everybody was pretending like, hey, they really mean well for you. But if you step back, and so it was just feeding her insecurity.
Yeah. Well, you start to feel like you have to be everything to everyone and be everywhere. And you have to be this 3 a.m. lifetime friend to everyone. And especially when you're working in the mental health space, a lot of people that work in that kind of space understand what I'm saying. People that have a regular finance bro job, like our son, doesn't necessarily understand this dynamic, but you kind of feel like you have to be everything to everyone. You have to be doing everything in the best way, but then if you miss out on something, people are going to talk about you and say, "Oh, she's doing it wrong. She's doing it bad." It's just this constant, like, whatever.
Yeah, and so
measuring. It's a measuring stick of how are you doing? How are you doing?
and guys do that by the finance bros guys, the real estate guys, the guys in the 19th hole. They're doing that measuring stick by how much they make and those kind of things. And so when we talk about healthy and unhealthy, some characteristics of unhealthy, you said kind of avoid the codependent, but it's like people don't respect your boundaries, and people start questioning how come you're doing something. They don't believe you, and they question with loaded questions. There's all these loaded questions. What do you have going on tonight? When you stuff like that, that is not healthy. Instead of just saying, "Hey, I'm leaving," or "I'm going somewhere," it's like they and it comes across they're acting like concerned, but the tone and the body language say something else. We said that last time in a podcast. The communication that's where we're talking about it's not safe or holding space. That's that codependency, and it's these loaded questions that if they really paused and looked at it. And so when I'm thinking about your friendships that you just went on and the conversation you had with these women, and saying, man, y'all are my healthiest friends. Sometimes we do have to get away from the community that we're with all the time and go, man, is this healthy? Because we might not see it. And so you're listening right now. You might think, I really do have a healthy friendships. Everything is healthy. And I'm going, I don't know. That would be great if you are, and it is that way. Praise God. But unless you step away and interact with some other people and other friends outside
Well, mhm.
that, you're not going to really know if it's healthy or unhealthy.
Well, and also it's like with coaching clients, I try to walk them through how anything, work, life, friendships, whatever makes them feel physically, emotionally, and spiritually. Like if you're getting that spiritual radar going off, like, this is probably something I shouldn't be dabbling in or stepping into. Physically, if you get the rapid heart rate, that feeling in your chest, the physical symptom. If you get the emotional symptom, it makes me anxious. It makes me sad. It makes me, angry or frustrated.
But
If you're
but even the body, when you talk about the body, when you're talking about physical stuff, is like what's going on in your body? Where do you feel those
that's what
feelings?
yes. Okay. So that's what I was saying, but it's an awareness. And so talking to my friends about what I mean by the healthy, sometimes you have to get away and analyze how maybe even a text thread. I've been on text threads before that give me so much anxiety. They raise my heart rate, they give me anxiety. I don't know how to respond. I freak out. And then I think if I don't respond, they're going to. I am on a text thread right now that I want to leave the conversation simply because of how it makes me feel, not because of who's on it. It's just the material. The it's not. It's just a situation. But I don't want everyone to see that Shannon West has left the conversation. I don't even. But I haven't responded in probably a year on this text thread, but it goes on and on every once in a while. I need to just leave it. Somebody needs to reach out to me and tell me how to leave a conversation without everybody knowing. I guess there is no way. I don't know. I'm just saying if you have an awareness, if you can stand back, that's why when I coach people, I walk them through it because we're only responsible for ourselves. And when we can really, really hone in on that and figure that out, things get so much better. The rest of I don't care what anyone else does. That's their business. It's their choice.
Well, this goes right hand in hand with unhealthy relationships. Is like you feel responsible for. You get into that control. You get into fixing, protecting, carrying their feelings. Control, not really listening. And so your body's going, okay, I need to respond, and you're biting the bait. In healthy relationships, it's like, okay, you can respond or not respond. It doesn't matter.
Well, and you're also trying to control the response of others. Think about in a text thread when you are trying to think of the best way to say something based on how everyone else is going to respond. And you can't control that. And so you can't do it right or wrong or good or bad ever.
So say that again.
Problems come in when you are trying to craft, say, a text in a text thread, craft it to where you can control whatever you're saying. You can control the response of everyone receiving it. You want everyone receiving it to respond good and joyfully, and you want them to respond positively. That's what you want. That's what everybody wants. Everybody wants that. Everybody wants the group response to whatever they're doing, a text, a suggestion, a
And so, but
gift,
here I've seen people
but you
in my
can't
office.
control it.
I agree with you. I'm not disagreeing, but I get people in my office and, people that I interact with say, well, I just don't care. And I'm going, I don't believe that. I just don't worry about that, blah, blah, blah. I don't think, that's where, are you serious?
They don't care until they do care.
Yes, but I'm saying they're doing that. That's a deflection mechanism. That is a way to really pause and just go, that's just who I am. No. And there might be some people that really don't care, but I don't believe
Or they put everything about them. They say things like, I don't care about that. And then I'm like, but you might be the only person in the world that doesn't care about that. Or whatever, but that's also worrying about other people's feelings. So I don't want to go there.
Here's the deal: is like when they say that, I don't care. Maybe they don't, but my deal is,
yeah, I don't think it's true.
I don't think it's true. Okay, but the other thing is, okay, maybe you don't, but can you respect that I do care? And so when you're telling me just don't care, they're shooting on you.
Yes, and also where I was going, these are
that's the unhealthy.
Yes, and these are kind of different examples. I mean, I hope I'm making my point, but when somebody says, "I want to do something this way because I don't care what other people think, I just want to do it this way," that can be dangerous if it's coming from an unhealthy place. If you yourself are unhealthy and you're saying, I want to do it this way because I don't care what anyone else thinks, and you think you're putting a boundary down, but really, if it affects someone else, I have a good example. Let me think about this. So let's say, okay, so I can use this example because my birthday is coming up. And every year I do have friends that love a birthday celebration. And they get to do that. That's great. That's healthy. It's not good, bad. It's not right or wrong. They love a birthday celebration. I don't love a birthday celebration because my birthday's May 13th. There's always graduations and end of school, and it's a crazy time.
Mother's Day.
I mean, my birthday's been on Mother's Day several years as a mother, and I'm like, no one wants to celebrate my birthday on their day and whatever. And I don't care. I would rather celebrate anyway, other ways and other days. But I have friends that will say, well, I don't care. I want to celebrate you. People want to celebrate you. Oh, but people want to go to lunch with you. People want to take you to lunch. People want to do this. And I'm
Which is a nice thing and good.
It's so nice.
And we're not even talking about good, bad, right, or wrong. Hey, that's healthy. It's nice to be desired. But can that person respect your decision? See, that's where it becomes unhealthy.
And they're trying to control my reaction and my feelings and my stance on my birthday. They're trying to make it to where it feeds their desires for my reaction, and I'm supposed to feed into their expectation of my reaction. Does that make sense?
Which is codependency.
Well, it sure is.
And
not on my part.
No, it's on their part. It's like
I want to be clear.
They are uncomfortable with you having a boundary. They don't actually believe you. They don't believe
me. They don't believe me.
They don't believe you. That becomes that's where unhealthy friendships are, is when people don't actually believe what you're saying. Sometimes people blow smoke up people's butt, and they actually might, it might be healthy to not believe what someone's saying. And so that happens a lot too.
Anyway, it can get muddled unless you're really self-reflecting and self-aware, and then confident with your decisions that are healthiest for you. It is healthiest for me. It doesn't give me anxiety. It doesn't make my heart race. It doesn't make me feel sad or frustrated or angry. And it doesn't spiritually, it makes me feel more connected if I just
And
say
it's
no.
not, and here's the crazy thing is healthy people can listen to what's not being said. Unhealthy people don't listen to what's not being said. Healthy people listen to what's not being said. It's like, hey, you know what? I'm gonna respect Shannon. She's not avoiding us, and she's not playing the martyr, and she's not playing the victim. She actually I know her, and she doesn't really want a celebration. And can
Well,
I
and in the
respect that?
past,
Does that make sense?
yes, and in the past, I have reacted and acted out of my codependency and not said what I wanted and not said what I needed and just tried to please those that were trying to do something.
You were
And it
being unhealthy.
exactly. And it caused me so much personal angst that no one knows I had. And no one bothers to try to understand why
The
it
other.
causes me that angst or the other. Yeah,
Yeah.
so
And
that
so when that becomes that unhealthy relationship, it's that place is like understanding the other, learning. We've talked about this before, getting curious, holding space. Instead, what happens when you have groups of people and friendships and stuff like that, you said a word earlier when we were talking about good, bad, right, or wrong, and the word was cosign. Most people don't understand that today's episode is really about good, bad, right, wrong, healthy, unhealthy, cosign, language that we don't even really understand. And cosigning is we cosign other people's behavior at the expense of ours. It's like, hey, you want to go to this restaurant. I like that young girl that you're mentoring that we've become friends with. I said, hey, you want sushi? I don't eat fish. Okay, that's good. She didn't get codependent. It's like, in an unhealthy group context, is like someone says sushi and there's two or three people that don't like sushi, they'll just go there and eat fried rice because they're people pleasing. That's not healthy friendships. It's like I don't have the ability to have a voice, to be seen, to be heard, to hold space because of my fear of judgment, fear of being left out, whatever that situation is. So let's not cosign.
no, let's not cosign. And then I think we can wrap this one up because I have low battery on my computer. I'm
That
just
sounds
noticing.
good. So,
This is not good.
if
But
you're
that's
thinking
we
about, hey, do I have healthy friendships? Do they allow you to hold space? Do they get curious? Can you set a boundary without judgment, without condemnations?
but you're never going to be able to control others' behavior or reactions. So it's all about you having an awareness of if your decisions are healthy or unhealthy. And then you create the boundaries for healthy relationships and healthy groups. Does that make sense? Because we can't,
That
I
makes
could
sense.
see
It's
how
like,
somebody could interpret what you were saying as, okay, make sure you create these healthy environments or whatever. Well,
no,
you
it's
can't.
it's like
You can't.
you
You see what
can't
I'm
create it,
saying?
but you have to actually follow through with your boundary. And if they don't respect your boundary, then that kind of answers your question. Probably not a health. Doesn't mean you need to write them off or anything. They can be a friend for a season or a reason or
Right.
even a
And bring them
lifetime.
back. Yeah.
Yeah.
Even a lifetime, you just have a little,
You just understand they're not that healthy for you.
right.